Shalom, I'm Nama Ru. This is my husband, Rabbi David Ru, and we are continuing to talk about the Shmita year coming up very soon. We want to learn, I need to learn more about money because the money that we use to exchange holy food actually becomes sanctified. And then there are rules and laws about using that money for holy purpose. Is that right?
Well, not only that, there's a prohibition of buying and selling produce of the Shmita. So what are the possible ways that we can go about purchasing, or I shouldn't say purchasing, but acquiring things that have the sanctity of the Shmita year? So the best statement on this is in the Gemara in Avodah. In the school of Rabbi Yanai, they would acquire fruit of the Shemitah year, and they would pay back for it on the 8th year. Asu Amru le Rabbi Yוחנן. They went and told this to Rabbi Yוחnan. Amar lehu, he said to them, Yeus and Avdin. What they're doing is beautiful. This is, in fact, the correct way of working. So, most Rishonim, Rashi, Ramban, the first explanation in Tosfos, the Ran, the M'iri, all of them have the same explanation of why this works, is because by the time they're paying for the fruit and vegetables, they no longer exist. They've already been consumed, therefore they're not in exchange in anything, they're paying off a debt that was there. Rבינו Ytzchak, in the second explanation given by Tosfos, says, Afilo פירות קיימים בעולם, even if the fruit is still here, התשלום הוא פרי החוב, that when I'm paying back the loan, I'm paying back a debt. I'm not paying for the fruit at that point, or the vegetables at that point. And since it's not a payment for the fruit or vegetables, therefore it doesn't matter whether fruit or vegetables still exist anymore. So
right. The vendor, the farmer, how can they afford to do that?
Well, they can't sell anything in the Shemitah year, right? So here at least they're getting something in the 8th year. But that's what they did.
Can we give them an advance?
No. Hold on. Wait, we're still in the middle.
Okay.
Serve Cook in Shabbos Haaretz says, Humashu muter los peros min ha'aniyim b'shviz lachzir lehem b'shminis. What is that the Gemara tells us that you can give a loan or receive a loan become obligated in a loan to the poor on the 7th year because you are now using these fruits and vegetables at Shmita and you pay back on the 8th year. Vein kedushas chilfei shviz chala ala peros, and the sanctity that money acquires when it's exchanged for the fruit of the Shemitah year doesn't apply here because it's occurring in the 8th year. This is when the fruit of the 7th year already exists, no longer exists. But if you haven't consumed them yet, they're still extant. Therefore, the prohibition of paying still exists here. So he is paskening like Rashi and most Rishonim that one should be machmer. The Chazon Ish disagrees, and he says since Shmita in our time is primarily rabbinic in nature, therefore we can rely on the more lenient opinion of Rבינו Ytzchak. So there are different ways in which this can be done as well. A check, by the way, is a future payment. So if you accept the Chazon Ish's position that the fruit can still be in existence, if I give the store a check, right, it's only later that it's collected from my bank account. If you use a credit card as opposed to a debit card, right, the payment is later. Now, if you want to be strict for Rav Kook, then you have to make sure if you're using a credit card that by the time the it's collected from the credit card that you've already used up these fruits or vegetables that you bought on it. And since there's a difference between the payment period and the time they collect out of the credit card, it's usually possible, if you keep this somewhat in mind, to make sure about this. So that's the first way that's mentioned in the Gemara that can be done. The second way that the Gemara talks about is a Mishnah in Sukkah. Halokeach lulav mechabero b'shvis, nosin lo esrog b'metanan. Now, lulav is essentially a piece of wood. It has no kedusha shvis in it. Therefore, I am buying a lulav from someone, and in fact, he wants an esrog from me. So I give him the esrog. Very good. So the Yerushalmi says on this, it tells how Rabbi Yochanan would buy wine that had the sanctity of shvis, or acquire wine, I should perhaps say, and he would give money to the winemaker, the vintner, as a gift.
Oh, they give each other in exchange of gifts.
Apparently, yes. And in fact, it talks about doing this in several other ways.
It's not even barter; it's gifts.
Right. Barter would be a problem, as we learned in the Gemara from Sukkah that we've seen several times. So, the Gemara, when in Sukkah, then it's talking about giving an esrog for receiving after you buy the lulav or whatever, however exactly that worked. So the Gemara says, what happens if the guy doesn't want to give it to you? Right? So then it says, the Gemara says, if he doesn't want to give it to you as a gift, you buy two things together. I am going to buy both my lulav and my esrog from this guy. I am going to pay him 45 shekels for both of them, whatever it is, right? And I'm going to, so to speak, stipulate that I'm paying for the lulav. I just get the esrog with it. Now, this is called havla'ah, and this is, in combination with other things, is very easy to do, meaning whenever you go to a store and you're buying fruits and vegetables during the Shmita year, you make sure you buy something else as well that's not a food. If it's all food, it could be a problem. But if you make sure you buy toilet paper, tissues,
a matchbox,
Shabbos candles, anything that's not a food, then it would be havla'ah. You're paying for these things together. And as you're paying for these things together, then there wouldn't be a problem at all. There are many things that don't have kedusha shvis.
You'd be like, I just bought this matchbox and I got all this fruit also while I was there.
Well, a lot of the things that we buy clearly don't have kedusha shvis. Almost all the grains in Eretz Yisrael come from the former Soviet Union. So all of those products couldn't have kedusha shvis intrinsically unless there were some exchange for them. So they would also count to offset. But if you do havla along with either paying by a check or a credit card or something like that, then it's certainly reasonable to say that there is no prohibition here of the kinds of transactions of buying and selling directly for the produce of Shmita. There are several other isurim that we're still going to discuss before we get to working the land and the isur of schara, selling products of the Shemitah year directly. We'll look at that. We'll also look at medida, measuring them, weighing them, and so on, and how these things have an effect on how we do our business of acquiring our fruits and vegetables during the Shemitah year.
Thank you.